All right, good morning, everybody. Good morning. I want to thank all of you for joining us today as we celebrate the accomplishments of the first year of Fair Transit South Cook Pilot Program and look forward to a meaningful and lasting impact on the way our residents and visitors travel around the county and the region. Let me acknowledge all the folks who are with us today. First of all, Commissioner Donna Miller, in whose district much of this good work takes place. Jennifer Sis-Killen, who's superintendent, was once deputy, superintendent of the Department of Transportation and Highways. Jim Derwinski, who is CEO of Metra, and the deputy executive director.
Yeah, two paychecks.
2 paychecks. Who was the deputy executive director?
Janice Thomas.
Janice Thomas, thank you. All right, my apologies, Janice. Richard Kwasniewski, did I do that right?
Yep.
All right. Richard Kwasniewski, who's board chair of PACE. Melinda Metzger, who's executive director of PACE. Mike Lewis, who's a board member of RTA. And Leanne Redden, who's executive director. I think I got everybody. Did I miss anybody? Everybody accounted for? Okay, good. I want to thank our transit partners for joining us. I just went through them, so I think I can skip that part. I also want to particularly thank our superintendent, Sis-Killen, from the county's Department of Transportation and Highways. Better transportation for underserved areas is a key part of my vision for an equitable Cook County. I'm proud to say that the department embraced all of my vision in trying to bring resources and better transportation to the places that need it most. Fair Transit has significantly reduced costs for riders on the Metra Electric and Rock Island lines and provided PACE riders in the Southland and the south side of Chicago with more frequent service. To my astonishment, I was stopped one day in my own neighborhood by a young woman who I didn't know, who thanked us for the Fair Transit pilot and the fact that it made her much cheaper for her to get to work every day. We're taking steps to make sure that people who live in the South Cook region have the same access to affordable, fast, reliable transportation as the rest of Cook County. Cook County, along with our partners at Metra, PACE, and RTA, are gathered here today to report on the progress of the Fair Transit program, which is designed to make transportation more accessible and affordable for residents who live in and travel to South Cook and North Will counties. So Fair Transit is a play on words. Normally when we talk about transit, we're talking about F-A-R-E, but in fact this is F-A-I-R. They're homophones. Sound the same but spelled differently. To me, Fair Transit is having the service available when it's needed at a price that people can afford. How you spend your money tells a lot about what you think is important. I always say that budgets reflect our values. I value people, and I value helping all the residents of our county meet their daily needs. Equitable transit is a critical component of ensuring that those needs are met. In 2021, Fair Transit's first year, Cook County invested nearly $10 million in the program, $10 million. During that time, we observed that ridership on the Metra Electric and Rock Island lines recovered faster than other lines in the Metra system. Clearly, our rail system was hardest hit by the pandemic. Surveys have shown us that PACE riders' quality of life was improved with the addition of more frequent service on the Route 352 Halsted line, which is the most heavily utilized line in the PACE system. We launched this pilot in the Southland because it has some of the longest commute times anywhere in the Chicago region. Time spent waiting on a train or bus could mean the difference between keeping or losing your job. I've said it many times before, but it bears repeating. Our residents who live in the Southland have been disproportionately impacted by disinvestment, redlining, mass incarceration, and lack of access to affordable and reliable transportation. Fair Transit is designed to help ease that burden. And right now, as we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, every dollar matters. The pandemic disrupted all aspects of our daily lives, including the way we commute. We had already planned to begin the Fair Transit program, but the pandemic made the need even more critical because we could serve Cook County's essential workers in healthcare, public safety, and other vital fields. I'm extremely grateful for their service to the people of our communities. Our work in this pilot is far from over. One goal we focused on as we move through the years 2 and 3 is seamless transfers between the transit agencies and a single payment card. We have a well-run transit system in Chicago area, thanks to the leaders today, but it's fragmented. I've often observed that these services offered by transit agencies are not as well integrated as they should be. Transit in the region should function as one system rather than 3 separate ones. I call on the transit agencies to take the next step in our partnership to develop a truly integrated fare system and look forward to working with the RTA as part of their strategic regional planning approach. The county stands ready to be a financial partner with the transit agencies to implement seamless transfers because our residents have told us that this is important to them. So it's one thing to encourage people to do something, and it's another thing to say you're going to help them by putting money on the table. And I'm here to say we're going to put money on the table to help you do this. I'm proud to be here, as I said, with our partners at Metra and Pace to say that Fair Transit has benefited the transit riders who need it most. It's also encouraged more people to take the train rather than driving, which is good for the environment. At a time when congestion is surging back, Fair Transit also benefits everyone on the road. We're taking an important step forward to make transit options fair for everyone, no matter what your zip code. Now, I'd like, in the following order, Commissioner Miller to come forward, and then Sis Killen, our Superintendent of Department of Transportation and Highways, Jim Derwinski from Metra, Rich Kwasniewski, Board Chair of Pace, Mike Lewis, Board Member of RTA. And would you please introduce the person who follows you? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm Cook County Commissioner Donna Miller of the 6th District and represent the south and southwest suburbs, 36 municipalities directly impacted by this Fair Transit. So this is really great to have this press conference to talk about the vision and to establish the Fair Transit Cook pilot program. I'm honored to stand here with you today to address and improve on the inequities that still may exist in our government, our workplaces, and in our society. Over the course of the last few years, it's been very difficult and very tumultuous due to COVID, but we've had many occasions to focus on equity in various aspects, such as healthcare, which has been a particular focus of mine throughout my professional career and since joining the board, and improving infrastructure and transportation access. Cook County hasn't just talked about equity, but we are really acting by putting in place priorities to bring about greater equity, such as the Fair Transit South Cook pilot program that improves the quality of life for all of our residents in the Southland, as President Preckwinkle alluded to. I was proud to vote along with my colleagues on the county board for the approval of $35 million to fund the important transportation initiative for the Southland back in December of 2020. As you may know, the south suburbs has the longest commute times in the county, whether it be for employment or healthcare or even grocery shopping. Many frontline workers, including the medical field as well as retail and municipal services, live in the Southland. And access to affordable transportation proved vital during this pandemic. Additionally, a robust transit system is vital to economic development in the Southland. We have a diverse workforce, and the ability to access affordable transportation to get to job sites in the south suburbs is key to ensuring south suburban economic development, and it impacts employees where they live. Without it, many may be at a distinct disadvantage when competing for jobs and programs. The Fair Transit Cook program is helping to level the playing field. And also, transportation works both ways, going out of the south suburbs and coming into the south suburbs. As Superintendent Killen presented the first-year report on the program this morning during the Transportation Committee, we see how investing in transportation equity is a win for the government, the private sector, and our residents. So thank you again, Madam President, Superintendent Killen, and our partners at Metra and Pace for your leadership. And I look forward to seeing this program continue to be successful in the coming years and future equitable investments that boost ridership and increase transit operations throughout the region. So next, Superintendent Killen.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller, and thank you, Madam President, and the rest of our county board for your continued leadership and guidance. Madam President, without your vision and that of the board, we would not be where we are today. I am grateful to Metra CEO Jim Derwinski, PACE Board Chair Rick Kwasniewski, and RTA Board Member Mike Lewis for their collaboration on fair transit, which has had such a positive impact on our residents' lives. As President Preckwinkle had just said, in our first year, fair transit helped riders immensely by making it more affordable to take the Metra Electric and the Rock Island lines and giving PACE riders more convenient schedules. In 2021, as we began recovery from the pandemic, ridership on the Metra Electric and Rock Island lines increased from an average of 140,000 to 430,000 rides per month. While these lines made up approximately 20% of the ridership pre-pandemic, during the recovery period, they've made up anywhere between 23 and 30% of the Metra ridership. PACE's Route 352 Halsted is its most heavily traveled south side bus line with an average of 2,200 weekday riders in 2021. The Fair Transit pilot has given PACE the opportunity to increase the frequency of buses on that route to every 10 minutes, which has cut these commuters' wait times, making the route, which travels between PACE's Chicago Heights terminal to the CTA Red Line station at 95th and the Dan Ryan, a more viable option for them. We focused on the Southland for Fair Transit because it's one of the most transit-dependent portions of our county and is traditionally one of the most underserved as well. We're also looking for this pilot program to help open up access to a strong workforce that not only supports the growth of existing businesses, but provides additional incentive to those seeking to make the Southland their home. But fair transit just isn't about the Southland. Part of our program is to implement seamless transfers between the transit agencies throughout our region. And what do I mean by that? While you can take the L downtown and catch a bus, you have to pay another fare, and you can't do that with Metra. You would still have to pay the full cost of the bus fare. And while you can buy a Metra ticket on Ventra, currently, Metra doesn't accept the Ventra card. These are not new challenges, but addressing them now is within reach. We will continue to work with all of the transit agencies and along with the RTA, our region's Metropolitan Planning Organization, CMAP, over the next few months to coordinate a strategy on how together we can move forward to implement true fare integration. Everyone could benefit from more convenient and discounted transfers, but it's especially our lower income riders who might not be able to afford to pay another fare. That makes seamless transfers another important component of our focus on equity. We are also looking beyond the Fair Transit pilot. Right now, my Department of Transportation and Highways is developing a countywide transit plan, the first of its kind, that will help identify other ways that the county can partner to increase transit ridership, improve infrastructure, and improve the access to our transit system. The plan will be completed early next year, and I look forward to announcing what the county's next big investments in transit will be. Cook County is committed to our continued partnerships with the transit agency and with the communities as the pilot continues. Fair Transit is helping increase access and inclusion for residents in South Cook, a longstanding need that we are proud to address and meet. It is now my pleasure to introduce Metra CEO Jim Derwinski.
Thank you, Superintendent, and thank you, Madam President, for having Metra here today. On behalf of our board, our chair, Romaine Brown, and our entire board of directors, we really appreciate this opportunity to share some of our thoughts on Fair Transit South Cook. When President Preckwinkle came to Metra and asked us to participate in the Fair Transit South Cook pilot, she actually stepped up with her checkbook. Just like she said, she put money forward. It's always been the problem with our agencies of backing into a corner every year fiscally, figuring out whether or not taxes are going to just support the operation as needed. President Preckwinkle clearly understood that to get past this barrier, she would have to step up and provide subsidy, and she did that. And so in beginning of January of 21, we launched this. And it was in the middle of COVID. It probably wasn't the best time, but in a lot of ways, it was the best time because that's when people were hurting the most. They didn't have their normal ridership patterns, and they still don't. But as been stated already by other speakers, those two lines, Metra Electric and Rock Island, started recovering faster than the other lines. They started coming back in bigger numbers. And so in July of 21, Metra increased service levels on both of those lines to just below pre-pandemic levels. And it was the first increase on all of our lines as we started to see ridership recover because of the fact that this pilot is working. There's really no downside for Metra on this, but there are challenges as pointed out. We need to find a way to fix the fare integration piece, and we look forward to working with our partners, Cook County, RTA, Pace, and potentially the CTA to work on those challenges so that fare integration can be something that residents of this entire region can benefit from. Recognizing the fact that this is not the first time in the country or in the world that this has been done, we know we can get this work done. I look forward to working with the other agencies and moving this into the second and third year. With that, I'd like to present Chairman of Pace Bus, Rick Kwasniewski.
Thank you, Jim. First of all, I want to thank personally President Preckwinkle for her support for public transit overall, not just on the fair transit, but she's always been a supporter of public transit and Pace as well. Thank you also to the county board for approving this pilot to move forward. Thanks so much for Sis and all of her staff who have really led this project. It's a very exciting time for Pace. We've got a lot of exciting things happening, and quite frankly, fair transit is a major part of that. Together, we've made transportation to employment, education, medical care, and other resources more equitable, reliable, affordable, and convenient for all the residents of southern Cook County. In partnership with Pace, Cook County funded the pilot to expand the service on Pace Route 352 that's been talked about earlier today, which is our most heavily traveled route in our network. Granted, we didn't have great increases of ridership, but it made a big difference in convenience for all of our riders because obviously we were able to provide more buses on that route and make it more convenient so there's a lot less wait time, making it a big difference for everyone's transit commute. Pace is also planning a bus rapid transit service which will be provided upgraded amenities and faster service along the Halsted route in the near future. This is a great opportunity again for the south suburbs. The new Route 352 also supports infrastructure improvements to the Pace Harvey Transportation Center, where we're developing a partnership with the City of Harvey and Metra on a more modern intermodal transit center, which will definitely provide a better experience for our riders in the south suburbs. This is an exciting time for Pace. We know it's an exciting time for Cook County to prioritize our environment. We both feel that we need to move away from fossil fuels, and we basically share that as public transit providers makes the change to more efficient and zero-emission buses. Our first electric bus will arrive next week, and 20 more arriving in 2023. We are well on our way to get to our goal of zero emissions by 2040. Fair transit should serve as a model for others and show how we can do partnerships in the future to make things better for transportation and accessible to all. Thanks again to Cook County, President Preckwinkle, and our partners at Pace and RTA for providing this much needed service to the south suburbs. Thank you. And I'll introduce Mike Lewis, board member of the RTA.
Thank you, Rick, and welcome to all. It's wonderful to be here today with President Preckwinkle, county leaders, and our partners from Metra and Pace. And I have to say, President Preckwinkle, once an educator, always an educator. Who else but she could teach us the difference between fair, F-A-I-R, and fair, F-A-R-E? I think she called it a homonym, which I'm sorry?
Homophone.
See, I didn't learn that lesson well enough. In any event, I think I speak for us all when I say that we see transit as the strongest tool in combating climate change and enabling seamless connectivity for a new era of work and recreation, and in linking neighborhoods to jobs, education, and prosperity. Over the past few years, the RTA, along with regional partners, has piloted numerous mobility projects, primarily in the outer urban and suburban areas of the region. These efforts have focused on areas that prove difficult to serve with traditional fixed route transit. The pilots have aimed to improve last mile conditions, serve reverse commute travel, and test new technology and partnerships to solve the challenges of serving industrial areas. We are grateful to the county's leadership and Metra and Pace's continued work on the Fair Transit South Cook pilot to innovate in order to better serve all the residents of South Cook, and I might say all of Cook County. What we are all learning through this pilot will help us improve service across the region. As President Preckwinkle mentioned, the RTA is currently working with the transit operators and other stakeholders on a strategic plan with a vision of safe, reliable, accessible public transportation that connects people to opportunity, advances equity, and combats climate change. We look forward to our continued work with the partners here today and across the region to make that vision a reality. I thank you, and I turn it over now to our master teacher, President Preckwinkle.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, any questions?
I know we have one on the line. Alex, you want to go? Alex, you want to go? Yeah, good morning. I have two questions for Superintendent Killen and then one for the President, all on topic.
All right, let's try Superintendent Killen first. Hold on, Alex.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning. So I remember when this pilot was first being planned, granted before the pandemic, but the goal was that, as I recall, that ridership would go up so much that the program would basically pay for itself. I'm wondering if that's still the eventual goal, or is the expectation now that the county is going to operate this at cost because it's worth it?
Thank you for that question. So the county is going to continue to subsidize the reduced fares and increased service for the remainder of the pilot. One thing about being a pilot, it gives us a chance to test out different fare policies and different programs to best understand how we need to move transit forward for the region, and that's something that we are going to be looking at throughout the duration of the pilot.
Okay, you've been talking about the importance of trying to get the CTA on board with fare integration. I know that they were resistant to that a year ago, and they're clearly not there today at the event. Do you get the sense that the CTA has warmed up to this? And do you see this report as sort of a motivating tool to get them on board with these conversations?
Thank you for that question. CTA is in collaboration and conversations with us. Today we focused on the findings of the first year of the report, and that was the reduced fares and the increased service on Pace. As we move into year two, we are having very constructive conversations about fare integration and how we can continue to bolster transit for the region. And in that vein, our region's MPO, Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning, otherwise known as CMAP, they are convening the group of the executive directors, which includes the transit service operators, the RTA, and the county, as we continue those conversations on how we can make fare integration happen.
Okay, and then for the President, let me know when you're ready.
Yes, Alex.
Okay, so, we've been seeing efforts at the state level and the city level to directly help drivers pay for gas. The state delaying gas tax increase, the city giving out gas cards. So why at the county level only focus on transit and not look to, similar benefits to people filling up their tanks?
Historically, our Department of Transportation and Highways focused on roads and bridges. And when I came into office, I said that we needed to have a broader focus. We had a long-range transportation plan that we developed over the course of 2.5 years, which has guided our work ever since. When was it finished, do you remember?
We approved it in 2016.
So we approved it in 2016, and we worked on it for 2.5 years before that. And the long-range transportation plan said we should have, as I said earlier, should have a broader vision of what transportation involves. And so we've invested heavily in freight to try to decongest our region, which is the home of 5 of the 6 Class 1 railroads in the country. So it's a railroad hub. We've invested in public transit. We've invested in bikeways and pedestrian walkways. So we have a very broad vision of public transit. And we've never focused entirely, as I said, on roads and bridges since the adoption of that plan in 2016. You know, we've supported public transit aside from the fact that our essential workers are dependent on public transit, and it's just fair and just that government invest in supporting those folks who work in essential jobs and are at the margin of our society economically. And public transit is also better for the environment than driving cars. So to the extent that we can encourage people to support public transit by riding it, we decongest our roads and support our environment. So our focus in this pilot that we initiated in the midst of the pandemic in January of 2021 was on public transit, and I continue to be committed to that.
So is the thought then that, you know, helping people with gas would be counterproductive to those goals?
I think investing in public transit is a really smart public investment, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, thanks very much. Anybody else on the line? Hi, it's Alice.
Hi, Alice.
Hi, can I ask an on-topic?
Well, are there any more on-topic questions?
We have one more on-topic question via text. Can we get that one first, then we'll go to you, Alice? Yeah, perfect, thanks.
Okay, I actually have 2 questions. One is, could you tell us more about how fare integration would benefit riders?
It's cheaper. Sis, do you want to answer this question?
Will do.
Thank you, Madam President. As we're thinking about fare integration, we're looking to create those seamless transfers for our riders. We're also looking to see if there's opportunities to provide a discount so one doesn't have to pay a second fare as they are trying to make their commute. We've seen this done in other cities across the country. With more transit systems and operators than we have here in our region. We're really looking to see how we can improve the rider experience and how we can ensure that transit is within reach of lower income riders, where a transfer or having to use 2 different mechanisms or a complicated matrix of the phone, the Venture card, and an app. We want to make this seamless for our riders, and we want to remove any barriers or challenges that we have to access the robust transit system that we have in our region.
And then one final question. Do Metra and Pace anticipate additional changes in service and/or pricing in the final years of the pilot?
Metra or Pace? So let's start with Metra. Jim?
The question again, please?
Do Metra or Pace anticipate any additional changes in service and/or pricing in the final years of
Absolutely. I believe, looking at the data as it's coming in here, it always drives right now with our resources that we have between the infrastructure, the crews, the cars, the availability, our schedule adjustments. And we're constantly looking to see where can we best place the schedule to really enhance the customer experience and tie in with our partners. And as far as pricing goes, those are the conversations that we're having right now with our partner, Cook County. Once again, the subsidy piece was the missing element, and that is clearly what's making a difference now. So yeah, pricing's in the conversation, nothing concrete yet.
Thank you very much. I think Melinda Metzger, Executive Director of PACE. 2 parts to the question. The first part is, are we going to continue to have increased service on the Halsted route? And the answer is yes. Our Board of Directors has already approved continuing the 352 pilot beyond the funding that is being provided by Cook County. The second part about the question about fares is really important to us. We are already working with our partners, CTA and Metra. We want to see a one pass between all of us. We have a Plus Bus pass that takes you onto Metra. CTA has a pass. We're going to discontinue our Plus Bus pass, and we're going to have a combined CTA Pace Metra pass at a reduced cost. We're also looking at other monthly passes, 30-day passes, 10-day passes, 7-day passes, go all the way down to combine them and make them more affordable for our customers. So we are working with both CTA Metra and Cook County to make that happen. We think it's important to make it seamless for our riders. Thank you.
All right, we'll take an off-topic question. Halsted from the Chicago Tribune.
Thank you. So regarding the news on Roe v. Wade, I believe Stroger offers abortions, and there are a number of Planned Parenthood locations in the suburbs. So I'm wondering what concrete steps could Cook County Health or Cook County do to ensure abortion access for residents and in the broader Midwest in light of this potential decision?
Well, I guess the first thing I should say is that I'm strongly pro-choice. I believe that women should make decisions about conception without interference from the government. And I think it's important to understand that if you outlaw abortion, abortions won't cease. First of all, there'll be states in the country like ours which will continue to provide abortions to those who come to the doors, not just of our health and hospital system, but Planned Parenthood clinics and other providers. And in states where abortion is forbidden, women will get back alley abortions, and we'll have the situation that we had in Cook County Hospital for many years, where we had a sepsis ward, where women who had abortions done that were not safe, and as a result ended up very sick and in our hospital. So that's the first thing. Choice is about good health for women, plain and simple. As I said, I was at a Planned Parenthood event in the last month, and there was testimony that Planned Parenthood clinics in the East St. Louis area had seen a dramatic uptick in folks who came for care as a result of very strict laws that were enacted in Missouri. And I think you'll see that if the Supreme Court does, as we expect, negate Roe v. Wade, then women from all over the Midwest will come to Illinois for care. And I'm grateful that we're in a position where we can provide that care, not just to our own residents, but to women in our region as well.
My name is Octavia, and I'm a social worker, and I've been riding Metra since 1997. Fair Transit has been amazing for me. It lowered the cost of my monthly ticket. That gave me an opportunity to buy all of the medicine that I need every month and not to have to make a choice between my health and my job every day. I love the Metra because it's reliable, it's clean, it's safe. I wouldn't take any other transportation. It's just amazing to ride.